Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let's go into some more deep dive about one more interesting topic in S3. So let's say I have an AWS account and I created one bucket and I uploaded one object. Now, how can I able to provide access to my bucket and object to any user? So how can I able to manage the access to my bucket or object in AWS? In AWS, we can able to manage access to my bucket or object two ways. So particularly if we see about S3 bucket, we can able to manage the access to the bucket in two ways. First one by using identity based access and second one is resource based access. So how can I able to provide access? I can able to provide access two ways. First one is what? Identity based access. Let's say any user who authorized or unauthorized based on their identity, I can able to provide this bucket permissions. And so from this bucket itself, I can even able to, what do we say, this S3, it's a resource, right? So from the resource itself, we can able to specify the access. So in this way, two ways we can able to specify access. Let's say I have I have a user. I have a user where for that user I provided an IAM user. So if I provided IAM user, then this user can able to log into my AWS. Yes. So this user can now able to log into AWS. Now, in order to access my bucket and object, what does this user require? This user also require some permissions, or you can say this, I need to assign some policy, right? Let's say this user has just IAM user credentials. That means in order to log into your AWS need to authorize, AWS need to authenticate whether he is a person who is having account or not. AWS must need to check his credentials. So for that, in order to log into AWS, user require IAM user. So in order to provide access to any service, it check for, does the user having any permission? That is nothing but any policy does he is having? Yes. So first it will check whether a user having any policy. So if he is having a policy to access this bucket, then this IAM user can able to access. And if the user can have, if the user present in a group where that group having this access policy, that is that group having this IAM access policy, this bucket access policy, then also user can able to access, right? Yes. So then this AWS also check whenever user try to access this bucket, first it check for IAM policy directly attached to him or not. So actually, if there is no policy, then it will check whether this user present in a group, in any group where that group having this resource policy attached to that group. So if it check, if that group contains, let's say this person, let's take a real example, that is Ajay. So he is present in a group. What is the group? The group name is developers group. Developers group. Now, for this developer group, I have attached a policy. What is that policy? I have attached for this S3. I have attached S3 policy, S3 full access policy. So I attached full access policy. Now, this user, this Ajay user is attached to IAM group. Firstly, he just log in with IAM user to the AWS account. Now he try to access this bucket. Initially, AWS will check for what are the IAM policies that this Ajay has. So actually, for this particular user, no IAM policies is assigned. from the group, he can able to have this S3 policy. Since the user is present in the group, this policy will be assigned to this person. So what is this policy? S3 full access policy. So now since he's having full access to S3, he can able to access. So by using group policy also, we can able to assign access to our bucket in AWS. Okay. Is there any other way, sir? Yes, there is other way, that is IAM role. So what is this IAM role, sir? By using this, how can we able to provide? This IAM role will provide temporary credentials. This IAM role will provide temporary access without credentials. So remember, it is mostly used concept to provide access to any resource without credentials. Then you need to use this IAM role. Without credentials, you want to provide temporary access, then you need to use this IAM role. So let's say Ajay is not present in, Ajay is not having any IAM policy or IAM group, but he is attached a IAM policy with, where the in that IAM policy it is specified the user who attached this IAM policy can able to log into S3, can able to use S3 full permissions. Then now this Ajay can able to use all the resources. That is, he can able to access AWS S3 bucket. So these are the three ways by using identity, user's identity, we can able to provide access to our bucket or object. Is there any limits for these policies, sir? Yes. So there is a limit for IAM policy. To write IAM policy, we can able to write within 2 KB size only. So let's say I want to attach group to IAM user. Then how much amount of size this group can have? This group can have the policies. This group can hold up to 5 KBs only. Up to 5 KB of policy size you can able to provide for this. Let's say I want to provide IAM based access to a user by using IAM role. Then how much amount of policy can I able to write for this IAM role? I can able to write 10 KB of size only. The policy size will be 10 KB only. So indirectly we are attaching policy directly to user, or we are attaching this policy to group and we are attaching that group to user, or else we are attaching that policy to role and we are attaching that role to IAM user. That means we are attaching our policy in different ways to the user by using this IAM user identity. Since he is having policy, he can able to access this bucket or else S3 bucket or objects. So in this way, by using identity based access, by using identity, we can able to access, we can able to provide access to the AWS resources. Now let's see how can we provide resource based access to users. So this resource based access is provided in two ways. First one is by using policy. By using policy. What is that policy we call? Since we are providing policy to the resource, we call it as resource based policy. Resource based policy. So by using this policy, we can able to provide access to any user, or else we can even use ACL. What is this ACL, sir? This ACL is access control list. This access, by using this access control list also, we can able to provide access to our resources in our bucket. So let's see more about resource based policy. What is this resource based policy, sir? It is nothing but a JSON script. It is nothing but a JSON script. Whatever the policy may be, either it may be IAM policy or resource based policy, the policy will be JSON script only. The policy will be written as JSON script only. Now let's see how IAM, you said resource based policy is a JSON script and IAM policy is a JSON script. Then what is the difference between these two, resource based policy and IAM policy? So can you write a sample policy, sample IAM policy for us? Yes. So I will tell you a sample IAM policy for you. How the IAM policy, sample IAM policy will be, and how resource based policy will be, and what, let's compare in between them as well. Let's see some identity based policy, how it will be. That is IAM policy. Let's see it. So first it will be present under flower braces. So in this, first we are having version. So let me discuss about important points in it. After that, we'll discuss about all other things. So now, first thing is, since you are providing this policy to any user, here you need to tell what are the things that this user can able to do. So now what I'm expecting is, I want to allow a effect. I want to allow. So that's why I'm providing effect as allow. So what is the effect? I'm providing allow. Since I want to allow a particular user to access this bucket, I'm providing effect as allow. Then within this allow, after this, we also have resource. So effect I have provided, and we have actions. So what are the actions that I want to allow? That also I need to provide. So if you want to allow all actions, then simply put star. So if you want to allow only certain actions, then you need to write them within flower braces. So let's say I want to allow this particular user to put object, then write S3 colon put object. I want to allow that particular person to create even bucket. So to create bucket, you write S3 colon create bucket. So like this, how many you want, those many actions you can able to allow. So after this, after this, just put comma, and then now whom you are allowing, you need to for which resource you are allowing, that you need to specify, right? Which bucket you are allowing, whom you are allowing, for that person you are attaching this policy. Now for which resource you are allowing, so what is the thing you are providing? You are allowing, what you are allowing, these actions for this person. Since you are attaching, it will be specified. Now for what resource you are allowing, that you need to tell, right? Yes. So you can able to tell what resource by using resource. So by using resource. So how do I identify a resource in AWS, sir? By using ARN, by using Amazon resource name. By using Amazon resource name only, you can able to identify. It will be like ARN hyphen AWS hyphen. Since it is present in S3, it will be S3. So colon. Now your bucket name, whatever the bucket name that you put, that will be here. So let's say I put my bucket name as bucket name only. So like this, you can able to allow. So this is how the IAM policy will look like. So actually this is a statement, right? Yeah. So since if you want to provide like this many statements, then you need to write statement. Under the statement, like this many statements are there. This is just a single statement. Now it is also having version ID. That is what is the version? So here you need to focus mainly on these three things. What is the effect that you are providing for this particular user? You are allowing. So for this effect, what are the actions that you are allowing? That you need to provide. That is put object and create bucket. Create bucket and put object. Now, for which resource you are allowing? You're allowing for this bucket, and this bucket name is bucket name. So you need to specify that by using resource ARN, Amazon resource name. This is very important concept. May certification question comes under this ARN as well. What is the full form of ARN? Amazon resource name. Okay. In this way, you can able to write a sample policy. So even you are allowed to write conditions under this policy as well. If you want to write conditions, then you can able to write conditions as well. Let's say I want to allow a user. I want to allow this IAM user when this user present in certain IP range only. So if you want to write that condition, then you can write condition like this. Condition. So within this condition, within the flavor braces, you need to write your condition. So what is the condition that you want to write? You want to write IP address. Regarding IP address you are providing, so you write IP address. So I have written IP address. So what is the IP address range that I am allowing? That you need to specify again within the flavor braces. That is what AWS source IP connecting from either 10.1.0.0 /16. So if a user connecting from this IP address only, then only we can able to allow that particular user. Otherwise, we don't want to allow that particular user. So in this way, we can write even conditions as well under IAM policy. Since we are discussing about IAM policy, I'd like to introduce two more IAM policies. So what are those? Managed policies and custom policies. Custom managed policies. Managed policies and custom managed policies. So what is the difference between these two, sir? So here you can see we have written a policy, right? So since as a customer, we are writing our own policy, we call it as custom managed policy. So what is managed policy, sir? AWS will create you a managed policy for you. AWS will already provide you some policies. AWS will already provide you some policies by default. We call those policies which are provided by AWS by default as managed policies. So in order to attach a policy to IAM user, you can have two options. First one is you can write your own policy and you can able to attach it, or else you can use this managed policies and attach that to particular IAM user to provide any resource. Either it may be S3 bucket or it may be EC2 instance. Whatever the resource may be, for that resource you can able to provide permission to IAM user by using either managed policies or custom policies in this way. We call this custom policy as inline policy as well. Since we are writing this policy, we call this as inline policy as well. So for a user, how many policies can by default I can able to attach, sir? For IAM user, how many default number of policies that I can able to attach, sir? You can able to attach 10 managed policies as well as 20 custom managed policies to a IAM user. That means 20 inline policies we can able to attach and 10 managed policies we can able to attach and 10 inline policies we can able to attach to a IAM user. So now I think you have a good idea with how can we provide access to this bucket as well as resources by using identity based access for a IAM user by using IAM policies or groups or roles. You just create this policy, or else you use managed policy and attach it to role or group, and then attach those roles or groups to IAM user, or else you want, then you can able to directly attach this policy to the IAM user. Now let's see how to provide. So by using which language this policy written? JSON. So let's see about resource based policies. How can we provide access to any users by using the resource based policies? So let's write and see that resource based policy as well. Now let's see this resource based policy. You can see it is similar to IAM policy, but in resource based policy, you need to specify. You provide this resource based policy to your resource. Either in S3, you provide it to S3 bucket. Now, if you provide this to S3 bucket, you need to tell, right, which users can able to access this? Yes. So here that can be specified in principle. That is the only additional thing that you need to provide in the resource based policy, except that everything will be same under IAM policy and resource based policy. Even you can check here. So if you see, principal is the only thing which is added in extra, whereas in IAM policy that is not present. You can see here. So in resource based policy also, you need to specify the important things. That is effect, you need to specify what is that you are allowing those users, and what is the action that you are specifying, put object and create object, and resource also you need to specifying, and you need to specify principal, that is who, which users you are allowing, that you are need to specify here. Since I am allowing Ajay, I provided Ajay as my user. This user present in where? This account. This user present in this account. So now the question is, can I able to provide this bucket access to other external account users as well? Other external account users. That means the users are not belongs to my account. The users are belongs to external account. For those type of users, can I able to provide access to my resource? Yes, we can able to provide access to our resource by specifying that particular person here. So here you get the particular external account ID, and then on that you have user, right? Yeah. So that is provided here. In that way, you can able to provide this bucket access to other AWS account users as well by using the resource based policies. Now let's see what is the, sir, you have said IAM policy having 2 KB, IAM group having 5 KB, and IAM role having limit to write up to 10 KB of size. What about resource based policy? What is the size? Up to what size can I able to write? You can able to provide this bucket policy up to 20 KB, up to 20 KB. So there are two options for you to generate, to write this policy. You can write this policy by your own, or else there is an option which is present in your bucket at options of your bucket policy. What is that option? Generate policy. By using that generate policy, you can able to generate your policy automatically. Generate policy, you can able to generate your policy automatically by just providing simple things. That is, what are the things that you need to allow, and what are the actions that you need to allow, and for what resource you are allowing. So you need to specify like that simple things and click on generate policy. Your policy will be generated automatically. There is a separate interface for you where it provides you directly generating policy by simply few clicks and specifying few informations. That's it. In that way, you can able to simply generate your resource based policy. Now let's see the comparison between IAM policy and resource based policy. In resource based policy, do we need to specify principle? Yes. So in IAM based policy, do we need to specify any principle? No need. Here we are not specifying any principle. Here we are specifying the principle. So can I say in IAM policy, we are having managed policies as well. In resource based policy, since we are not having any managed policies directly to provide to bucket, can I say these resource based policies are all custom managed policies or inline policies? Yes. These resource based policies are all custom managed or inline policies only. So now let's move on with ACL. You can see the default bucket ACL will be look like this. So initially grantee, that is bucket owner having all the permissions to list and write all your objects, and the bucket owner is also allowed to read and write all the bucket ACLs. What are the bucket ACL that bucket has? Those ACLs that bucket owner can able to read and write. So coming to other users, that is everyone, that is public, did not have access. Public comes under two categories: authorized user as well as unauthorized user. Who is authorized user, sir? Authorized user is nothing but who is having AWS account. They can able to access AWS, right? So they are authorized by AWS. So that's why we call that user as authorized user. And unauthorized user comes under a person who is not having AWS account. We call that user as unauthorized user. So if you provide this everyone access, then everyone read access, everyone list access and write list access, then everyone can able to read your objects which are present in your bucket. Who is belongs to your, who is having AWS account or who is not having AWS account also can able to read your objects and list your objects. If you provide write permission, then the user can even able to delete or upload or override whatever the objects we have. So this is about two listed write permissions. Coming to, if you see about read permission of bucket ACL or write permission of bucket ACL, this read permission allows whatever the grantee to read the ACL bucket policy. To read the ACL of a bucket. This ACL is not a policy. You can see it's like an interface. So this is one more important point. This ACL is not a policy. It looks like a user-friendly interface. And coming to bucket ACL, you can see bucket ACL, in bucket ACL, there is a write permission. So what does this write permission will provide, sir? If I allow write permission to any grantee, then to write ACL for the bucket, S3 put bucket ACL, that permission is granted to that particular grantee. So these are the four permissions that ACL can able to provide related to your objects and bucket ACLs. So if you try to edit this, if you click on this edit button, then the interface will be like this. Now, as a bucket owner or a IAM user who are having permission to edit this bucket policy or permission, you can able to, whatever the items that you click, those items will come see here. So whatever the items you click, by just clicking only, you can able to provide the permissions. If you want to provide both authorized and unauthorized users access to your list buckets or list objects within your bucket and watch your buckets, then just provide this. If you want to provide read access to your ACLs as well, then click on this. So then every user can able to even see your bucket ACL. So if you provide for a particular IAM user, then you can click here. In your account, whatever the IAM user you have, for those IAM users and any user who is having AWS account, for those users, if you want to provide to list your all your objects in your bucket, then provide this list. So this is S3 log delivery group. So by using this log delivery group, you can able to provide this as well, ACL permission. So in this way, you can able to provide access to read your data inside your bucket and list your all your objects inside bucket by using ACL as well. So I hope you have a knowledge on how to do this, how to provide access by using identity based and resource based and ACL based. Even you can able to provide access to other grantees, other AWS accounts by using this ACL access for other AWS accounts by using grantee. You can add a grantee as well. So you have seen some grantees there, right? So you can even add a other AWS account as grantee to access your objects. You can able to provide list permissions and write permissions for them. You can even able to provide bucket ACL related permissions, that is read or write permissions also you can able to provide. So you can able to remove as well, access as well. So I'd like to mention one point. Whenever you created a bucket, for that, the resource based policy will be initially empty. If you want to provide resource based policy, then you need to write that resource based policy. So in final, I'd like to conclude. So you can able to provide access to your bucket as well as objects which are present in your AWS account by using two ways. What are the two ways? Identity based and resource based. So in identity based, you providing policy to IAM user, and by using that policy, this IAM user can able to access these buckets. Whereas coming to resource based, by using the resource based policy attached to your bucket or ACL rules which are configured to your bucket or whatever the resource that users can able to access. So coming to this policy, how do you, what are the ways, different ways that you can able to have, what are the different policies you have managed and custom. This custom managed policy will be returned by whom? You. So we call this policy as inline policy. So this, and what are the policies that are provided by AWS by default? We call that policies as managed policies. This is how custom policy will look like. So it must contain effect, that is allow, and actions. What are the actions that you are allowing that particular person? Put object and create object, create bucket. Like this, you can able to allow actions, how many you want, those many. And resource also you need to specify. And if you want, you can even able to provide some conditions like in this particular IP address range only the person able to access my resource. So coming to this resource based policy also, it is a JSON policy, JSON script only you write. This is a JSON script, and the for these resource based policies there are no managed policies. In addition to IAM policy, this resource for this resource based policy you need to also provide the principal. Since you are attaching this resource based policy to your bucket, you need to provide principal who can able to access. I have added a user called Ajay which is present in this account. You can also provide other account users to access your bucket as well as objects as well by using this. And by using ACL, you can able to, you have seen how to provide access to objects, that is list objects or write objects, and how can other account users or the users present in your account can able to read or write your bucket ACLs. There are mainly you have seen bucket owner access. By default, every access will be present for bucket owner, but for everyone or authenticated users, there is no access which was provided by default. If you want, you can able to provide. If you want, you can able to provide a other account user as a grantee in ACL to provide access to your bucket as well as bucket objects. So I hope you understood this video and you have a good understanding with knowledge on how can we manage access to S3 bucket as well as objects. If you feel this video is contentful, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. See you back in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Thanks for seeing this, guys.